if you were sat here in my kitchen right now with a brew, because maybe you're feeling stuck, maybe you just need to chat with your BFF because you've tried all the things, you've cut carbs, you've been to the gym every day, you've started Fresh Monday, and it all works until it doesn't. And the frustrating thing, you know exactly what you should be doing, but somehow you still end up going off track. So this week I wanted to share some of my client check-in data with you because I feel like these women who are in their 40s, they're in their 50s, they are where you are right now, and their reflections absolutely blew me away. Not because they found magical willpower or the perfect diet, but just because they've made real life changes, and they're changes that they can actually keep doing on a daily basis. And I want to share them with you so you can also experience this magic for yourself. So today we're going deep. I'm going to walk you through the exact mindset shifts and habit changes that have helped them lose weight and keep it off, and also feel more in control around food, right? They are still living their lives. So I'm going to give you some practical takeaways that you can start from today. So number one, let's talk about ditching willpower. It absolutely does not work. If I had £1 for every time a woman who told me, I just need more willpower, then I'd be filming this from my villa in Ibiza instead of my house here, okay? We have been sold this reason that we can't stick to our healthy habits because we're weak or we're lazy or we don't try hard enough. And this is absolute rubbish, right? So what I know from coaching hundreds of women and from my own life, willpower is absolutely not the problem, okay? The problem is you think you can make great decisions when you're tired, you're stressed, you're hungry, you're already halfway through a packet of biscuits, right? That's not a willpower problem. That's an environment and a systems problem. So in terms of my clients this week, right, what they're telling me they're reflecting on now is that actually I think and I plan my food before it happens, and it's made life so much easier. Or I just say no straight away when someone offers me a biscuit, and then I've got time to decide if I truly want it or not. And these women didn't just wake up with this magical discipline, right? They've made these tiny tweaks in my coaching program. We've worked together so they can work on the temptation before it even hits, right? So think about this. You walk into your kitchen, it's 8 p.m, you're starving, and the biscuits are right there, and you've got no plan for dinner. Of course you're going to eat them. You're going to be really hungry, and that's not because you've failed, but it's because you've set yourself up to fail by not having a plan. So what my most successful clients do differently is they move those decision points to earlier in the day, earlier in the week. They plan ahead, they have go-to options, and they take the thinking out of the moment, right? So I know what you're thinking, like, yeah, Angela, but I'm just not organized like that. But neither were they when they started, right? We didn't overhaul their life overnight. We started with planning just one breakfast per week, swapping one afternoon snack, making just an if then do this plan for when they're offered food to decide if you actually want it in the moment. So a little challenge for you this week. I want you to really think about what is one moment where you feel you really go off track. Maybe it's after work when you're really hungry, the kids are snacking, maybe it's in the office when the biscuit tin calls, and I want you to decide now, whilst you're watching this video, whilst you're in this energy, what you are going to do instead. Now, the most important thing here, I want you to write it down, maybe tell someone else. You can always send me a message, you can put a comment below the video, and remember, the goal is not to be perfect, it's to make it easier to handle in the moment, because when you stop relying on willpower and you start making the choice before you have to, so you have a plan already well embedded in here, then that's when you're going to start to make amazing changes, and that's when you're going to actually experience your taste buds changing too. And that's what we're going to dive into next. So let's say you've created your plan, you know what you're going to do when the biscuit tin comes calling, the colleague who's always pushing the cake. You've stopped relying on willpower. You know what you're going to do in that moment. Then you are going to actually start to like less sweet things, right? Because you're not eating sweet things all the time, or salty things, or whatever those crisps and processed snacks kind of are, right? So I see this time and time again in clients. And actually, when they start to realize how good it feels to say no because it aligns with their goals, not from a place of restriction, then they actually will say things to me like, you know, I just don't even see those foods as treats anymore. I just don't want them. I now know how to truly treat myself. And True Treats is a strategy that I use as part of my You're Perfect signature coaching program, right? And these are women who never would have believed that was possible for them if I told them that was going to happen in week 1, right? So part of it is physical, part of it your taste buds physically change, but the biggest part of it is emotional. When you've had enough positive experiences of eating in a way that actually makes you feel good, then you're going to start associating feeling good with different foods, right? So you'll actually get to a point where you think things like Greek yogurt and berries are genuinely a better choice, and of course they are nutritionally, than a biscuit, right? And you're not doing it because you should, you're doing it because you actually want to. Now, don't panic. I'm not saying you can never eat cake again. This isn't about banning foods. There are no banned foods on this list. But it's about creating that balance so you can enjoy these foods when you genuinely want them, not because there is a source of stress in your day or just because they're there in front of you. You actually feel really in control. So your second task from this video is this week, I want you to pick one meal or snack that you have most days and experiment with a little swap. So if you are currently raiding the biscuit jar mid-afternoon, I want you to try and swap for a high protein yogurt with berries. If it's crisps in the evening while you're watching Netflix, I want you to try and roast some chickpeas. So you're not taking away the snack, but you're swapping it for something more nutritious, right? It's only small changes that we need to make week by week, day by day. And once you start noticing these shifts, right, you'll realize it's not about being perfect. Okay, you're still going to eat some calories in the evening, but you're actually going to get some nutrition from it. And then maybe you might start to think, you know what, maybe I don't need these as much because you're not craving those sweet, salty, crunchy snacks anymore. And this brings me to one of my most freeing lessons that clients have learned. And actually, this is about being consistently average, which is not something you might think that you should be aiming for, but consistently average wins the weeks and the months and the years, right? Forget perfect days. You might get one in a week, but what if you just wanted to think about being consistently average? Now, this is when most people are like, Angela, have you lost the plot? Well, I'm telling you, no, this is your secret weapon to lasting results. This is how you break the all or nothing cycle, okay? Most of us are thinking, I need to be good, or I'm tracking every single calorie, I'm hitting every single workout, I'm saying no to everything. And then come the weekend, we're saying yes to everything, no holds barred, YOLO eating, and then we're swinging from one extreme to the other, and it's absolutely exhausting, and it's the exact reason you end up back at square one. So some of my clients have nailed this idea of being consistently average. One of them said to me, literally, do you know what, I've realized I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be consistently average. And this is hitting the basics most of the time and letting go when the guilt throws a curveball, which it always will, when the life throws a curveball that causes the guilt, right? So they'll have a social weekend, but they know how to reset. They have their reset day plan in place, and they either do it at the very next meal or the very next day, so they can go enjoy the cake, enjoy the birthdays, the weddings, the holidays, whatever. And they never feel like anything's ruined because they know exactly how to do either a mini in the moment reset or think, right, next day, right back to my good habits. Because when you aim for average, you really remove the pressure. You stop trying to be flawless and you stop failing in your own mind because you're never going to be able to maintain that perfection, right? When the bar is realistic, you can consistently hit it. And that is what is going to compound into long-term results. So how can you apply this, right? So instead of asking yourself, how can I absolutely smash this week? Ask yourself, flip it on its head. What is the minimum I can commit to this week that I know I can stick to even on my worst week, right? It might be 2 workouts instead of 4. It might be hitting your protein 4 days out of 7. It might just be drinking a litre of water every day. Because when you do those things over and over, on good days, you can turn up the dial and do more. And on challenging days, you can turn down the dial and do the bare minimum. So this week, I want you to set your average baseline, your non-negotiables that you can keep up with without feeling like you have a second job, okay? Because when you hit that consistently, you can layer more on top any day that you have the capacity, but you're always going to have that safety net that's going to stop you sliding backwards. Now, another part of the process that is so key to your success is planning. Honestly, planning is power. And I know that some of you hate planning, right? I myself am not a particularly good planner when it comes to food, right? And if you're sitting here rolling your eyes, about to turn the video off, I implore you to stay for a few more minutes, because even if you think you don't have time to plan, you are 100% making time to deal with the chaos that comes from not planning. So I do not mean a military schedule where every crumb is accounted for. I do not mean a whole week of tracking in MyFitnessPal. I mean you're thinking about the most important decisions you have to make with food for the week and doing it when you're in a calm and clear-headed state, right? Because if you wait till you're tired, you're stressed, you're ravenous to decide what to eat, you are not going to choose on your goals. You're going to choose on surviving in that moment. Now, surviving might sound like a bit of an extreme term, but that's what your brain is telling you, that you just need to get through this, right? So some of my clients used to say things like, well, Whenever I'm tired, I will just eat whatever I find easiest. And now they literally do a 10-minute planning session on a Sunday where they just map out the basics, right? So for some of them, it's slow cooker meals when they're working late. Some of them, it's grab and go protein options. It's not fancy, it's just strategic, right? And planning also cuts your mental load, it enables you to close a couple of those tabs so you're not thinking about that eternal what's for dinner every single night. You've already decided, get your family together, do the 1-2-10 method. If you need a PDF for how to do that, comment below 1-2-10 or send me a message. I will send you how to do the world's most easiest meal planning, right? So just try and plan. But even if you can't do a whole plan, just think, what am I going to eat tomorrow? So you're always staying one step ahead of yourself, right? Take 10 minutes in the evening to just think about what is tomorrow going to look like. And I promise it will help you feel calm and in control when those moments, those curveballs, those wrecking balls roll around and everything feels like, oh my gosh, I can't make a healthy choice, right? This is how you're going to get out ahead of yourself. Because when you plan and that's in place, you're going to feel good about the choices that you're making, right? And I also want you to think now about that identity shift. This is one of my favorite things to work on with people, right? And this is when you go from just setting an arbitrary goal, like lose 10 pounds, to actually thinking about the woman you want to become. And that might not be the same woman you wanted to be in your 20s or your 30s. As we go through life, things change, we change, and I want you to start thinking about the positives within yourself, right? If you see yourself as someone who's, I'm bad with food, I always fall off the wagon, you are making those things true for yourself. Your brain can only believe what you tell it. So I want you to tell yourself, I am someone who takes care of myself. I am someone who fuels my body. I am someone who follows through on my plans, and allow those habits to become part of your identity. So my clients have started saying things to me like, yeah, I'm the kind of person who lifts weights now, or I'm the kind of person who always plans my food. It makes it so much easier. Or I'm not the kind of person who eats in front of the TV anymore. And these are the identity level shifts I want to help you make, right? So one client used to tell me, she used to feel awkward turning down food at a social event, and now she says no without guilt because she knows she's protecting her own energy for later that evening and when she gets home, right? So that's not willpower, that's identity, okay? And this really matters because you don't have to then psych yourself up for things, you know. You are just the kind of person who does that. Like, think of somebody you know who's a runner. They don't think like, should I go for a run? They're just a runner. They go running, right? I want you to get to that level with whatever it is that you want to achieve. Okay, so let's think about wrapping this all up, putting it all together. Let's zoom out for a second. So we've talked about ditching willpower, we've talked about changing our tastes, we've talked about aiming for the magic of consistently average, about planning ahead, and about stepping into your next level identity. And here's the thing, I want you to remember, none of these things will happen overnight. So the women I'm talking about in these examples here did not suddenly overhaul their lives and become perfect disciplined people. They're still not perfect disciplined people now, and nor am I. But they started small, they planned a breakfast, they swapped a snack, they said no for the first time, and they repeated those things until they became normal. And this is the real change. This is the real magic in making change stick, right? You stack those small repeatable actions until they just become who you are, because when they're realistic, you can keep doing them even in your worst week, right? So in real life, for one client, this meant planning her 2 busiest days of the week and leaving the rest flexible. For another, it was having high protein snacks ready in the afternoon instead of raiding the biscuit tin in the office. Another one, it was reframing exercise as from a punishment to a gift that she can give herself. Okay, so here's my challenge for you. Pick one thing from this video that you've heard me talk about, and I want you to think about how can you implement it today. I don't want you to wait for Monday. I don't want you to wait for the perfect moment. I don't want you to wait till you're back from holiday or this has happened or that's happened. I want you to think about what you can do today, because that perfect moment that you're waiting for is not coming. You make it happen. You achieve your goals by taking action, right? So you do not need another diet. You do not need to become a different person overnight. You just need to start living as the version of yourself that you want to be 3 months from now, one choice at a time. If you found this helpful, please hit subscribe. Drop me a message and tell me the small habit that you're going to commit to today. And if you want more support to make these changes stick, then I've linked some of my resources in the comments below. And of course, you can always book in to have a chat with me about working with me. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.